My dad used to call me dead weight, the family loser, or just nothing. For years, I swallowed it, thinking maybe I'd earn his respect someday. But respect never came. Not when I graduated, not when I got my first job. He only noticed me when the bank sent a check with my name on it. That's when he realized the house over his head had my signature under it. And that was only the beginning. I'm Jordan, oldest of three, the quiet one, the disappointment, according to my dad. Growing up in Raleigh, North Carolina, I learned early that love in our house came with conditions, and I never quite met them. My younger brother was the star athlete. My sister had a smile that could get her out of anything. Me? I liked books, numbers. I didn't need praise, just space. Dad didn't get that. He believed in two things, brute effort and blind loyalty. I was always the black sheep, even when I started working at a private equity firm straight out of college. Money's not real work, he used to grunt. But when his back went out, and the bills piled up, guess who he turned to? Back then, I had no idea where this would lead. But if you stick around till the end, you'll see why I stopped giving second chances. And hey, maybe you'll want to send this to someone who needs to hear it. I was 12 the first time I fixed something my dad couldn't. The water heater had gone out again. Mom was panicking about cold showers, and Dad was on one of his worksite rants, slamming cabinets and muttering that nothing in this damn house works. I was in the garage, pretending to work on a science project while mostly staying out of sight. That's how I survived back then, by disappearing. But I'd been watching him tinker with the heater for days, failing every time. So I did something I never dared before. I took the manual from his toolbox, followed the diagram, reset the pressure valve, and flushed the tank. 30 minutes later, hot water. Mom was shocked. My sister clapped. My brother asked how I did it. Dad just stared at the heater like it betrayed him. Then he turned to me and said, "Don't let it go to your head. You probably just got lucky." I stood there holding the wrench, my heart thudding. I didn't even want praise. Just not that. Not the tone. Not the flick of his wrist like I was a fly on his sandwich. That was the first time I realized good enough didn't exist in his eyes. Not for me. The next day, he was at my brother's middle school game, yelling encouragement from the bleachers like a dad in a Gatorade commercial. I sat 2 rows back with Mom, watching him shout, "That's my boy," every time my brother touched the ball, even when he missed. Nobody had ever said that about me. Not once. I wasn't stupid. I knew I wasn't athletic. I liked math, puzzles, computers. I wasn't loud. I didn't throw tantrums or steal beer from the fridge. I just stayed out of the way. Maybe that was the problem. One night, he caught me building a circuit board for a robotics club project. He squinted at the wires and scoffed. "You planning to make money with that trash?" "I don't know," I said quietly. "It's just a project." "Then it's a waste of time." He didn't even wait for a response, just turned up the volume on the football game and cracked another beer. It wasn't abuse. Not really. He didn't hit. He didn't scream. But that indifference? That slow drip of "you don't matter." It was its own kind of erosion. Over years, it carved canyons inside me. I tried harder. Fixed more stuff. Got straight A's. Built websites. Helped neighbors set up Wi-Fi. I thought if I could just do enough, be enough, he'd say something different. He never did. Not then. Not when I graduated. Not even when I started making 6 figures at 24. To him, I was still the one who hides behind a screen. But he had no idea whose hands were about to hold his future. I'd just landed a job at Maddox and Crane, a boutique finance firm out of Charlotte. Not Wall Street huge, but solid. 6-figure base, bonuses, equity options. For a guy like me, first in the family to graduate college, it felt like proof. Proof that I wasn't nothing. I remember the exact moment I told him. We were in the backyard, July heat thick in the air, the grill smoking unevenly while he poked at overcooked ribs like they owed him money. Mom and my sister were inside setting the table. My brother had just started HVAC training and was bragging about how he actually fixes real things. So, I started clearing my throat. Got a job offer. Dad didn't look up. Another one of those mouse-clicking gigs. I forced a smile. Private equity. Starting salaries $115,000. Plus equity. That got his attention. He looked up. Not with pride, but suspicion. "They pay you that to sit in front of a screen?" "They pay me that because I know what I'm doing." He snorted. "Yeah, well, don't blow it on lattes and toys. No congratulations. No handshake. Not even a nod. Just, hope you've got a real suit." Those corporate types can smell weakness. Later that night, at the dinner table, my aunt asked how the job hunt was going. Before I could answer, Dad jumped in. "Oh, Jordan? Yeah, he's gonna go be some fancy money guy. Pushing buttons. You know how it is. Soft hands, soft life." Everyone laughed. Even my brother. I stared at my plate, while crawling up my throat. I'd worked 3 jobs through college. Slept on a busted mattress in a shared apartment with rats. Spent nights coding until my eyes burned. And this man, this spectator in my life, called it soft. I stood up, trying to hold my voice steady. Actually, it's real work. I've earned it. And I'm done being the family punchline. Mom flinched. Dad leaned back, chewing a rib like he didn't care. "Relax. We're just messing around. Don't be so sensitive." That line, "Don't be so sensitive." That's what people say when they know they've drawn blood and want you to bleed quietly. I left the table without another word. That night, I packed my things. No big scene. No slam of the door. Just quiet resolve. I moved to Charlotte within a week, started work, built a life where no one called me nothing. I got promoted twice in 3 years. I bought a condo, paid off my student loans, and I never called home, not once. But funny thing about life, it always circles back. 2 years later, I got a voicemail from my sister. "Hey, it's about Dad. He hurt his back. Can't work. They might lose the house." I listened to it twice. Then I played it again, and I smiled. I didn't rush to call back. I let that voicemail sit for a few days, like wine I wanted to savor. Not out of cruelty, but clarity. The kind of clarity you get when the man who called you a leech now needs your blood to keep his roof. When I finally called my sister, she was polite. Soft. Too soft. "He's proud," she said. "Won't ask for help, but Mom's been selling her jewelry. They're behind on the second mortgage. 3 months." "How much behind?" "Almost $9,000. I paused. That was less than one of my quarterly bonuses. I told her I'd think about it. She thanked me like I was an outsider, a generous donor. Not her brother. The next day, I made a quiet call to an attorney I'd worked with on real estate trusts. Hypothetically, I asked, if someone wanted to catch up a mortgage without being named, could we route it through a holding company? He laughed. "Absolutely. Shell companies are good for more than just the rich dodging taxes." So I did it. Created a dummy LLC, Oakline Holdings. Clean name. No ties to me. Oakline paid off the delinquent balance. I even prepaid 6 more months. The bank sent a thank you letter to the house. I waited. Nothing. A week later, my sister texted, "Thank you. You saved them." I told Dad, and you know what he said? I braced for it. She wrote. He said the bank probably realized who they were messing with and backed off. Said it was a matter of respect. That's when something in me snapped, but not like a branch. Like a latch. A slow click. He thought he won. That his pride won. That the universe bent for him. No. No more quiet generosity. No more being the secret hero while he played king of the ashes. If he wanted to believe the house was his kingdom, fine. I'd become the landlord. I upgraded the LLC. Transferred funds to begin the process of buying the note outright. That house. It wasn't worth more than $160,000 in that neighborhood. And I had more than that sitting in a growth fund doing nothing but making tax headaches. I wanted the deed. The mortgage. The keys. All of it. And I wanted him to keep living there, not knowing I owned the land under his boots. You see, some people need to lose everything to learn. But men like my father? They need to owe everything. I smiled as the final paperwork was drafted. This wasn't revenge yet. This was the stage being built. By the time the paperwork went through, Oakline Holdings officially owned the mortgage and lien on 214 Leeward Street. My childhood home. I didn't even need to visit. I knew every inch of that house. The crooked porch rail Dad never fixed, the rust stain under the kitchen sink, the attic where I used to hide when his silence got too loud. Now it was mine, and he didn't have a clue. I didn't make any changes right away. Just automated the payment system so Mom wouldn't miss another installment. I even threw in a buffer, enough to keep them safe for a year. It wasn't about money. It was about watching what he did with the comfort he thought he earned. And, predictably, he basked in it. Started posting on Facebook again, smug little updates about how some people know how to handle their finances. One post was a photo of him leaning on the porch railing, beer in hand, captioned, "Still standing. Still strong." I showed it to my coworker at lunch. "She knows you own that house?" she asked. "Nope." "Damn, but that wasn't the straw." That came 2 months later. I had just wired another $2,000 for a minor plumbing issue they reported, through Oakline's maintenance contractor, of course. That night, my sister sent me a screenshot of a group text with my dad and brother. Dad, Jordan doesn't lift a finger for this family. No surprise. Brother, yeah, man vanished. He's got cash, but not for us. Dad, typical. He was always selfish. Takes after his mother's side. I stared at the screen. I didn't feel angry. I felt surgical. Cold. Like the last screw had clicked into place. They had no idea I was holding the house up like Atlas. That I'd paid over $20,000 just to let them keep living their lie. And still, I was nothing. That night, I called my attorney again. I want the property fully transferred. Title deed in Oakline's name. Make sure the city records reflect it. He was quiet. Are you sure? Once it's on public record, they'll notice. I'm counting on it. Next, I ordered a formal lease agreement. Same rent they'd been paying. Only now it would come with documentation, due dates, and clauses. Standard stuff, but real. And I had it delivered by certified mail. 3 envelopes. One addressed to my dad, one to my mom, and one taped to the front door. It arrived on a Tuesday. I didn't have to wonder how he'd react. The angry voicemails started that night. First from Mom, confused, nervous. Then from him. You think this is funny, you little punk? This house is mine. You and your paperwork games won't change that. But it would. Because in 30 days, the first rent invoice would be due. And if you didn't pay, well, eviction's just business. Dad didn't pay the first invoice. Of course he didn't. He crumpled it up and threw it in the street, according to my sister. He said he's not paying a dime to some paper company trying to scam him. I smiled. It wasn't about collecting rent. Not yet. It was about forcing him to see the walls closing in. And he was starting to sweat. A week later, I sent a second notice, this time on legal letterhead from my firm's attorney. It laid out the facts. Oakline Holdings was now the legal owner of 214 Leeward Street. The mortgage had been bought and satisfied. A lease agreement had been initiated with the occupants, per standard rental procedures. Non-payment after 30 days would trigger legal action. Dad went ballistic. He called the county office. They confirmed the ownership change. He drove to the bank, the one that used to hold his mortgage, demanding to speak with whoever's responsible. They shrugged. The note was bought out, sir. We don't service it anymore. Then he called my mom from the parking lot, raving. This is a shakedown. Some faceless vulture fund bought our lives. I waited 1 more week. Then I had Oakline's property manager, a man named Elliot I'd hired part-time, show up at the door. Elliot's tall, buttoned up, and speaks in legalese like it's his first language. He handed my father a third notice, walked him through the lease terms, and calmly explained that the company would prefer to work with him, not against. My dad slammed the door in his face. 2 hours later, I got an email from Elliot. He's not going to cooperate. Wants to speak to a real person. Perfect. So I made an appointment. I told Elliot to arrange a formal sit-down at Oakline's downtown Charlotte office, a shared co-working space with glass walls and corporate buzz. I booked the biggest meeting room, made sure my name was nowhere visible, and told Elliot to bring him in and stall for 5 minutes. I walked in at minute 6. Dad was sitting at the table, arms crossed, visibly annoyed. He looked up. His mouth opened, closed, then opened again. What the hell is this? I sat across from him. Calm, clean suit, folder in hand. Hi, Dad. He barked. You're the one behind this crap? Not crap. Property law. You've been messing with us? Making us pay rent. I've been paying your bills for 3 years. Quietly, while you bragged about handling things. I slid the deed across the table. This is yours, he asked, barely above a whisper. Technically, it belongs to Oakline Holdings. But yes, I own the house. He stared at the document like it was a death certificate. Why, he said. Because, I said, leaning in, you said I'd never amount to anything. I just wanted to make sure that, when you looked around, everything you see proves otherwise. He didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. That might not sound long, but for a man who's never known silence, who fills air with insults, complaints, noise, it felt like watching a monument crack. Finally, he pushed the deed away like it burned. So what now? You gonna kick us out? I folded my hands. Not yet. Then what? You just wanted to humiliate me. No, I said flatly. You did that part on your own. His eyes flared. I could see the fight rising in him, The old habit of barking his way out of things. But then something shifted. Maybe it was the room, the glass walls, the quiet. Or maybe it was the simple, undeniable fact in front of him. The boy he mocked now owned the chair under his ass. I want you to keep living there, I said. But as a tenant. You'll sign the lease. You'll pay like everyone else. Market rate. First invoice goes out next month. You're serious. Deadly. He shook his head, a bitter smile twitching across his face. You've been waiting for this. What? Your little revenge. I leaned back. No, Dad. This isn't revenge. This is responsibility. You should try it sometime. He stood up. You think you're better than me now? I didn't move. I don't think it. I pay your mortgage. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him, which, by the way, still technically belonged to me. I let out a slow breath and turned to Elliot. How'd it go? He asked. Better than expected. Back in Raleigh, things got quiet. No rent came in, of course, but no more threats either. Just silence, which, from my dad, is more rattling than rage. 2 weeks later, my sister called. He's been different. How so? Quiet. Distant. Keeps looking at the mail like it might explode. He knows the rent's due. Yeah. He also knows he can't pay it. I waited a beat, then said, Good. I didn't need the money. I had plenty. But what I needed, deeply, coldly, was for him to know, every time he flushed the toilet or stood under a warm shower, that I had made it possible. That his throne was built on my balance sheet. And he had no seat without me. One morning, I got a letter in the Oakline inbox, handwritten, stamped with his shaky scrawl. Inside was a money order for $1,500. The note said only, paid. 1 month. No thank you. No apology. But that tiny, stubborn payment? It was the first time in his life he'd admitted I was real. That I wasn't nothing. And that made it worth every damn dollar. The money order was a spark. Not because of the amount. $1,500 was pocket change to me by now, but because of what it represented. Control. Acknowledgement. And maybe, just maybe, the first crack in his delusion. I didn't cash it right away. I let it sit. Framed it. Actually, tucked behind my computer monitor like a trophy. First official rent payment from the man who once said I'd never earn a real dollar. A week later, I drove to Raleigh. No warning. No text. Pulled up in front of 214 Leeward Street around 10:30 a.m., black rental SUV idling at the curb. The house hadn't changed. Same faded siding, same warped garage door. The lawn looked better, though, like someone had recently discovered what a mower was for. I rang the doorbell. It took a while. Then it opened, and there he was. Same flannel shirt. Same skeptical eyes. What do you want? He muttered. I figured we should talk. He hesitated, then stepped aside. The living room was dim. Mom was nowhere in sight. Just Dad, standing like a bouncer in his own house, arms crossed, waiting for me to flinch. I got your payment, I said. Yeah, well, I don't owe anyone charity. I smiled. It's not charity. It's rent. He bristled. You gonna raise it now? He snapped. Jack it up until we're out on the street. I reached into my bag and pulled out a manila envelope. Slid it onto the coffee table like a poker chip. What's this? New lease terms. Starting in 60 days, rent goes to market rate. $2,400 a month. He laughed. A hard, choking sound. You're kidding. Nope. We can't afford that. You're welcome to move, I said coolly. I hear the market's tight. Might want to get a head start. You do that? To your own parents? You mean after paying off your mortgage, covering your plumbing, and keeping your lights on for 3 years while you told everyone I was a selfish ghost? He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I'm not doing this to hurt you, Dad, I said, standing. I'm doing it so the next time you sit on that couch, you remember who kept the roof from collapsing. He clenched his jaw. You were always waiting for this moment. To stick it to me. No, I said. I was waiting to stop pretending that I needed your approval. Before he could answer, I turned to leave. At the door, I paused. Oh, one more thing. He looked up. I've been forwarding your utility bills through Oakline's system. Those in next month, too. Then I walked out, closing the door behind me. Slowly, quietly, letting him sit in the house he didn't own. Breathing air I'd paid for. Surrounded by things I'd saved. Alone. The group chat exploded that night. It started with my brother. Liam. Bro, what the hell did you do? Dad said you're kicking them out? Then my sister chimed in. Maya. Jordan, please tell me this isn't true. Please. I didn't answer right away. I was on my balcony, sipping coffee, watching the lights of Charlotte buzz like a different world. Finally, I typed one line. Me. Come over tomorrow. Both of you. They showed up just after noon. Maya brought lemon muffins. Liam brought an attitude. What is this, a power trip? He snapped the moment he stepped inside. You're seriously gonna evict them? Sit down, I said, calm as ever. Maya sat. Liam paced. I opened a drawer and dropped a folder on the table. Receipts, bank transfers, maintenance invoices, mortgage payoff statements, all neatly tabbed. 3 years of proof. I watched them read. Saw the confusion melt into disbelief. Then embarrassment. You paid all this? Maya asked, voice small. I nodded. Every bill, every emergency, every mortgage installment. Why didn't you tell us? She whispered. Because it wasn't about the credit. Until he made it about pride. Liam stayed silent for once. He called me selfish. I continued. Said I never lift a finger. Meanwhile, I've been lifting their whole damn house. Maya looked heartbroken. I didn't know. I know. But raising the rent? That feels fair, I said. I paid for peace. He gave me war. Now he gets market value. Liam finally spoke. You don't think this is harsh? Was it harsh when he told everyone I was useless? When he made fun of me for working in finance? Then used my money to survive? They didn't answer. I stood up, grabbed another folder from the shelf. This one was thinner, just a single page. What's that? Maya asked. An offer. I slid it across the table. 6 months rent-free, I said. On 2 conditions. He signs a public acknowledgement of everything I've done, and he sends it to the family group chat. No edits. No spin. Liam looked stunned. You serious? As a heart attack. Maya picked up the paper. Read the statement. It was blunt. Honest. Not cruel. Just clear. Liam shook his head. He'll never sign this. Then he can pay market rent like everyone else. Or leave. They left shortly after. No more muffins. No more yelling. Just silence. That night, I got a call. It was Dad. His voice was quiet. Gravelly. I got the letter, he said. And, long pause. I'll sign it. I didn't say anything. He cleared his throat. You'll really give us 6 months? Yes. After that, standard lease applies. Fine. Then, just before hanging up, he said something I never expected. You were never nothing. I didn't reply. I just let the silence hold him, the way he never held me. He signed it. No edits, no black marker lines, no snide comments scrawled in the margins, just his name, in the same angry, crooked handwriting I used to see on report cards he never cared to read. The letter was short, just 2 paragraphs. I want to acknowledge that Jordan has been supporting this household financially for the past several years. He paid off our mortgage, covered home repairs, and kept this house running when I could not. I was wrong to minimize his efforts and speak against him. We owe him more than thanks. We owe him our home. And I'm ready to admit that publicly. I forwarded the signed scan to Maya and Liam. Then posted it, without comment, in the family group chat. No reactions. No emoji. Just seen by checks one by one. It was the most satisfying silence I'd ever heard. 2 days later, I visited the house again. Not to gloat, not to push, just to hand-deliver the formal lease agreement. One signature already on it, mine. The other line waiting, blank. He met me at the door. No yelling this time. Just a nod, like we were 2 men doing business, finally speaking the same language. Inside, Mom made tea. She didn't say much, but her eyes were softer than I remembered. Dad sat at the table, glanced at the paper, then looked at me. You meant it? The 6 months. I nodded. You've got until April. After that, full rent or you relocate. Your choice. He didn't argue. He just signed. No ceremony, no apology. But he looked me in the eye for the first time in years. Really looked. Guess I misjudged you. You didn't, I said, standing. You just never try to understand. At the door, he stopped me. You'll keep it fair? After 6 months. As fair as you made it for me growing up. He flinched, just a little. But then he nodded. I'll be ready. That was the end of it. No hugs. No sudden father-son reconciliation montage. Just 2 men who finally stopped lying to each other. One because he had no more illusions left, and the other because he'd never had the luxury to believe in any. Back in the car, I stared at the house. Same windows. Same roofline. But everything had changed. I had become the architect of my own worth, not just in spite of his judgment, but because of it. He built a boy out of scorn. I built a legacy out of silence. And now, he lives in it. On my terms. 6 months passed. He paid on time, every month. No more complaints. No more snide remarks in the group chat. Just quiet transactions and the occasional one-line email from my mom. Rent sent. Hope you're doing okay. I never raised the rent after that. Didn't need to. He mowed the lawn now. Fixed the porch rail I'd mentioned years ago. Repainted the mailbox without being asked. Not out of pride, but maybe something closer to respect. He still doesn't say much when we see each other. No emotional speeches. No hallmark moments. But last Thanksgiving, he called me son again. And that was enough. As for me, I sleep fine. I don't crave his praise anymore. I don't need validation from a man who mistook cruelty for strength. Because in the end, he taught me something valuable. If someone calls you nothing long enough, make sure one day they pay rent just to stand in your shadow.